Welcome to this deep dive on the ethics of online research and why interview requests often get ignored in niche online communities. To begin, we will set the stage by discussing the core issue: the mismatch between researcher expectations and community norms. Next, we will explore why many requests are perceived as intrusive and how this perception leads to rejection. Then, we will move into practical strategies to engage respectfully and effectively. Finally, we will wrap up with key takeaways and a couple of short quizzes to reinforce learning. Here is our agenda. First, we will explain the Ready Pool Fallacy. Second, we will cover rules for respectful engagement. Third, we will outline a step-by-step approach to ethical collaboration. Fourth, we will examine professional alternatives to public forums. Finally, we will finish with key takeaways and short quizzes. Now, let us transition to understanding why interview requests are so frequently ignored. Online communities function as living social spaces where people seek peer support. Because many researchers see these communities as quick data sources, they repeatedly post interview requests. As a result, moderators see many similar posts and prioritize protecting community conversation over external data collection. Consequently, most requests are ignored or removed as spam. With that context, let us examine the underlying fallacy behind these requests. The Ready Pool Fallacy assumes that a community is a static source of free respondents. In reality, communities are dynamic networks of relationships. Moderators prioritize maintaining the quality of conversation and protecting members from extractive behavior. Members are present to exchange support, not to provide unpaid labor for external projects. When requests feel repetitive, extractive, or inconsiderate of the group's norms, they trigger removal or negative feedback. With this understanding, we can transition into rules that shift engagement from extraction to collaboration. This sequence diagram traces a common path. First, the researcher posts a generic interview solicitation. Next, the moderator evaluates the post against explicit rules. If recruitment is forbidden, the post is removed and a notice is issued. Alternatively, if the rules are silent, members may still respond negatively because they have seen many similar requests. At that point, the researcher might defend the request, which often escalates backlash, or apologize and step back to observe norms. After observing and contributing meaningfully, the researcher reframes the ask into collaborative questions. As trust builds, members provide insights, and any further contact happens through approved, opt-in channels. Now, let us move into concrete rules to guide respectful engagement. There are 4 foundational rules. First, know the rules by carefully reading guidelines and then observing how the community behaves over several weeks. Second, offer reciprocity by compensating participants when possible or contributing meaningful value, such as sharing synthesized findings. Third, reframe the ask by replacing generic interview requests with specific, open-ended discussion prompts. Fourth, explore alternatives such as professional platforms, academic networks, or recruitment services for more efficient, compliant data collection. With rules in mind, let us transition to a step-by-step method you can apply immediately. Begin by listening first and observing the community for 2 to 4 weeks to learn its norms. Next, contribute by answering questions, sharing resources, or summarizing helpful information. Then, clarify how you will provide value, whether through compensation or by sharing findings. After that, reframe your request into 1 or 2 specific, open-ended questions that invite discussion rather than extract data. Engage with replies by acknowledging contributions, asking follow-ups, and synthesizing insights. For any deeper conversations, use only the channels that are explicitly approved by the community and make them opt-in. Finally, share back your insights or a brief summary so the community benefits from the exchange. Now, to compare strategies, let us contrast extraction with collaboration. On the left is an extractive approach: mass posting, no reciprocity, ignoring rules, one-way data collection, and defensiveness under scrutiny. On the right is a collaborative approach: specific, context-aware questions, reciprocity through compensation or shared insights, alignment with both explicit and implicit rules, iterative two-way learning, and a receptive, reflective posture. Having seen the contrast, let us test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: what is the biggest reason interview requests in niche communities often get ignored or removed? Options are: 1. They are too long to read. 2. They are seen as extractive and repetitive, disrupting community norms. 3. Moderators dislike research. 4. Communities do not contain useful insights. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. Disclaimer. This content is educational and does not constitute legal advice. It does not replace institutional review board requirements, data protection regulations, or specific platform and community policies. Always comply with applicable laws and your institution's ethics protocols, and follow each community's explicit rules and professional alternatives are often more effective and ethical. Use vetted research panels or professional networking platforms to recruit targeted participants. Tap into academic networks and institutional review board compliant participant pools when applicable. Employ specialized recruitment services for hard-to-reach demographics. Allocate budget for incentives and time to improve participation and data quality. Finally, document consent processes, privacy protections, and data handling in detail. Next, we will visualize value exchange to highlight reciprocity in your design. To design value into your request, start by clearly stating what participants will gain, whether that is monetary compensation, resources, or access to findings. Commit to sharing a summary with the group in a format that is useful to them. Consider offering time-bound office hours or question-and-answer sessions focused on the community's interests. Maintain transparency about risks, how data will be used, and how much time is required. Now that we have covered value exchange, let us capture key do's and don'ts in a straightforward table. This table summarizes best practices. Do observe norms before posting. Do offer compensation or meaningful value. Do ask open and specific questions. Do use approved channels. Do share findings back with the community. Conversely, do not rush in with demands. Do not expect free labor. Do not post generic interview blasts. Do not attempt to circumvent moderator rules. Do not disappear after extracting information. Next, we will map the life cycle of ethical engagement to reinforce timing and pacing. This timeline highlights the pacing of ethical engagement. First comes research. Identify the community and study its rules. Second is observe. Spend time learning norms without posting. Third is participate. Help and share resources to establish presence. Fourth is engage. Ask specific, open-ended questions and synthesize what you learn. Fifth is recruit. Transition to opt-in interviews through approved channels with appropriate compensation. Sixth is share back. Present findings and express thanks. Finally, maintain. Remain available and cultivate long-term trust. With timing established, let us check understanding with a second quiz. Question: which reframed approach best aligns with ethical engagement in a niche community? Options are: 1. Posting a mass survey link and asking for 30 minutes from anyone. 2. Direct messaging members without permission to schedule interviews. 3. Sharing 1 to 2 open-ended questions in a thread and engaging with replies. 4. Promising exposure instead of compensation or value. You may pause the video now to consider the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is sharing 1 to 2 open-ended questions in a thread and engaging with replies. This approach fosters dialogue, respects norms, and allows trust to develop before any recruitment attempts. Now, let us consolidate the most important points to remember. The key takeaways are as follows. Communities are social spaces rather than free sample pools. Both explicit and implicit rules govern acceptable outreach. Reciprocity and transparency are essential for building trust. Reframing the ask to invite discussion rather than extraction leads to better engagement. For rigorous or large-scale studies, professional alternatives are often more ethical and more effective. Next, let us summarize our journey. In summary, we examined why interview requests often get ignored or removed. We outlined a pathway for ethical engagement that starts with listening and ends with sharing back. We also explored professional recruitment options that respect participants, time, and improve data quality. Finally, we reinforced key ideas through 2 short quizzes. Before we close, a brief disclaimer will clarify the scope of this guidance. Disclaimer. This content is educational and does not constitute legal advice. It does not replace institutional review board requirements, data protection regulations, or specific platform and community policies. Always comply with applicable laws and your institution's ethics protocols, and follow each community's explicit rules and Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with a colleague, and subscribe for more content on ethical and effective research practices. I would love to hear about your experiences with outreach in online communities, so please share your thoughts in the comments.